Never fear of missing out by clicking that subscribe button and becoming another member of the Babylonian family. Cast your minds back to when the demo first came out. This was the most sought after legendary. Now we're going to see how it stacks up in the main game, but first, Babylon is now partnered with Raffled Up, the one-stop shop to have the chance at scoring yourself some great tech at a low price. Raffled Up has made over 1,800 people happy with their competitions, ranging from store credit, GPUs, VR sets, and even full-on PC rigs to take your game into the next level. Keep your eye out for mega bundle competitions too for your chance to win several £1,000s worth of gear, all for less than the cost of a chippy. If you fancy your chances, make sure to use our partner code in the description below and save yourself some money while also supporting us as a channel. Best of luck and enjoy the content. Welcome back, Babylonians. I hope you've had a lovely weekend, and welcome back to another legendary guide to bring to you. And today we are looking at some more legendary pistols. These are the Torment and Agony full auto pistols, and like I said at the start, these were the most sought after legendaries that were back when the demo first released, and it's not hard to see why, because these are absolutely gorgeous. But what we're here for is obviously the stats and obviously what makes this gun unique. So the tier 3 mod that's on this is called Judgment Enforcer, where shots mark enemies and when reloading deal 3 times your weapon damage to every enemy that's been marked. Marks are removed when you change your weapon, and this refreshes every single second. So the idea behind this is that you use your gun, instead of focusing on one target, you are now focusing on everyone that's in front of you. And the idea is that this would essentially be a finisher, but it doesn't quite work like that, and we're going to see some gameplay in the background to show you why that's the case. Now I've paired this with Snow Squall, which is a tier 2 mod, and this is one that we haven't seen before, where reloading weapon inflicts freeze on enemies previously wounded by this weapon without changing it. So my idea behind this pairing was the fact that I didn't want to increase the weapon damage, I didn't want to go through that, I wanted to show this gun off in its extent, and then I wanted to have something that happens on reload and do something very similar to what the tier 3 mod does. So the fact that I've got a Technomancer that's spec'd into freeze and obviously uses that to its advantage, I wanted the idea to be able to shoot a bunch of enemies, mark them all up, deal the damage so I can see the stats, freeze them so I actually have the chance to be able to look at the damage and be able to show you that kind of footage, and then also benefit from the freeze that's afflicted onto them. And essentially this actually works as a really nice weapon. The idea is that there's a bunch of enemies that are frozen right in front of you. Actually take advantage of that, and even as a Technomancer that's great, but there are other tier 2 mods that do very similar stuff for different kind of mods, so you can inflict burn if you really wanted to, and that would probably work out quite well for a Pyromancer. So I'd probably recommend that you go down that kind of route, and obviously gear this secondary weapon towards what kind of class you're playing. Now, there is a reason as to why I said that the tier 3 mod on this doesn't really work, and it definitely cannot compete when it comes to CT-15s, and that's the fact that this pistol deals such low damage that even if you're dealing 3 times your weapon damage, you're still doing a measly amount of damage. Now, the stats on this gun, let's just quickly go through them just to be able to, you got an idea of this. The clip size is standard at 40, the rounds per minute is 750, which is quite fast, the damage is 2,395, and this is the main reason why this falls short, because my firepower is 65.6k. The reload is 1.3 seconds, so it's quite fast, and the crit multipliers are 129%, so it's not too bad. And just because, seeing this, the accuracy is a nice 69, so for all you fans that are out there, nice. Exactly. So why does the tier 3 mod not work with this? Well, the fact that it only deals 3 times your weapon damage, and the weapon damage itself is 2,395, you will not be doing enough to be able to kill any kind of enemies. Now, this would be nice if it worked off how many marks you actually inflicted onto an enemy, but unfortunately it kind of works on the fact that as soon as you've hit them, regardless of how many times you've hit them, they're just marked. And when they're marked, when you reload, they just take 3 times the weapon damage. So it works out to be about 7k in my pistols anyway. Obviously, if you've got some higher firepowers, you might find some a little bit more damage, but it's not going to stray too far, like higher than 8k if that. So for all those people that have gone to CT-15, you'll notice that doing crits of like 700k is not enough to even kill one enemy. You kind of need another follow-up sometimes, and the fact that I'm now doing an extra 6k on that is just pointless. Why would I ever want a mod that allows me to do something like that? And I do wish they would buff that to the point of, depending on how many hits you do, and this might make LMGs a bit more efficient as well, when you come to reload, that's how much more damage you do. So if you had like a magazine of 80, and you hit every single 80 of the 80 rounds into an enemy, and then you deal 3 times your weapon damage to it, that could be a nice way of anomaly power builds coming into it. That would probably make it more effective, and it may even have a rival for Fortress in that kind of sense, maybe. But at the moment, there's no point. The buff's not there, so why would you ever run this? Now, I do think this is a shame, because the Torment and Agony was so sought after when it came to the demo, that to now come to the end game and them being pointless is a real shame. And the fact that even if I scrap these in to be able to get that tier 3 mod, I'm never going to use it. Don't get me wrong, as sidearms, they're decent, they fire quite fast. I was actually quite surprised as to how effective these could be as a Technomancer, but the problem with being a Technomancer is because sidearms are geared up to be close range, and obviously Technomancers are geared up for long range, there's a very small window of like maybe about 6 meters where the Technomancer can take advantage of long range damage and the actual range that's on the gun. And when it's in that sweet spot, yeah, you'll see in the background obviously some of the damage figures that it can do, and obviously how much it can range quite wildly. But it was doing quite a bit of damage when it got to that. Not enough to be able to be considered a primary weapon, and one you just consider just running straight through like a CT13 to 15, but enough to consider be actually there as your sidearm. The problems you have for the Torment and Agony are twofold. Sidearms as a whole are pretty much pointless being there. They have little to no use apart from like outside of Moaning Winds kind of builds where you have it on every single gun. And they don't do enough damage to be considered as like a viable option going forward into higher CTs. Now, obviously when you go through the lower ones and you're trying to help a friend out and go through and just have a little bit of fun, then yes, by all means you can definitely use them there. But when it comes to actual serious CT13 to 15, there's no point in ever using them. Also on top of that, the tier 3 mod is basically useless when it came to endgame. It was probably quite fun to be able to use going through like the lower world tiers when it came through to the story, but then as soon as endgame hits, it dropped off massively, and there's just no need to ever run these pistols in those higher tiers. And sadly, that does bring us to the end of the Torment and Agony pistols, the ones that were most sought after when the game was first announced, and it was just available for you to pick up on Steam. And then when it came to the actual game and when it came to the grinding and all that kind of aspect, it's just pointless to be able to there. And it's I've never seen such a change in like tier rankings when it came to that as these pistols have. And yeah, hopefully at some point people can pick up on this, and hopefully we can get some kind of buff for these, because I genuinely think there is actually a player base out there that would love to be able to run these as their primary and their solo weapon to be able to get them through some expeditions. But yes, that brings us to the end. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've loved the gameplay that's in the background. We are into the last week of our legendary guides, so I hope you've enjoyed, and obviously there will be a playlist that allows you to watch every single one of them back to back, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the end of the content for Babylon. We will definitely be bringing you some more Outriders. There's plenty of stuff in the pipeline, and we're looking forward to be able to bring you some stuff hopefully catches your attention. As always, keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, and I shall see you on that next video.